Hello everyone, Snowflarky here. I'm here today to present my normal Pendulum deck profile. I'm a big fan of normal non-effect monsters overall, so even though I'm historically not a big fan of Pendulum, I decided to give this a shot, and upon playing this normal Pendulum deck is actually quite a bit of fun, and I've been having a blast with it, so I kind of wanted to show off what I've been doing with it. So let's get into it. Starting with the monsters, I am playing triple Lance Ferincus. This is the biggest monster in the deck with 2500 attack. He's a Pendulum Scale 7, and he has the Pendulum effect. If a normal monster you control attacks a defense position monster, inflict piercing battle damage to your opponent. So that, being able to do damage off defense position monsters opens up a lot for this deck. As a Pendulum deck, you can summon a lot of monsters on the field at once, give you good OTK potential, and sometimes being able to get that damage through a defense position monster does just that. Also, opening up more ways to do battle damage helps for several of the effects of other normal Pendulum monsters, Pendulum effects, as we'll see. So definitely a good card to have, and with 2500 attack, definitely the body that will be doing a lot of damage. Next up, we have triple Dragonhorn Hunter, another one of the bigger normal monsters with 2300 attack, Pendulum Scale 3, and its Pendulum effect is all normal monsters gain 200 attack, and you take no battle damage from battles involving normal monsters you control. A solid Pendulum effect, not one of the best ones in here, but still pretty decent. That 200 attack boost on a full board can give you extra damage to push for game. Definitely has for me. And of course, the second effect where you take no battle damage, that can be better in a situation where you need to go defensive and just continually pendulum summon to wall um, an opponent while you build up card resources. Now, this deck doesn't do too great from falling behind, so hopefully you won't have to do that, but can come in handy. But so scale 3, decent effect, 2300 attack for better damage, definitely makes it one of the cards to play. The Dragoons of Draconia cards, that includes our triple Dragoons of Draconia. Probably the most essential of the Pendulum monsters for the Pendulum effect. It's a 4-star, 1800 attack, and then it's Pendulum effect, Pendulum Scale 2, Pendulum effect. Once per turn, if a normal monster you control destroys an opponent's monster by battle, after damage calculation, you can add a level 4 or higher normal monster from your deck to your hand. So this gives you more fuel for future turns, and keeps you moving things out of the deck continuously. So that's pretty important. You want to get cards, draw cards. 1800 attacks. When you summon him, he's pretty good. That is our Dragoons of Draconia. Next is our triple copy of Sea Dragoons of Draconia. One of the weaker monsters with 200 attacks. It doesn't make good for your offensive push, but it's a scale 7. And of course, its Pendulum effect. When a monster is destroyed by battle, you can special summon a normal monster from your hand. You can only use that effect of Sea Dragoons once per turn. So, if you have an extra monster in your hand, you didn't commit to the full board on Pendulum Summon because you didn't want to get solemned or something like that, Sea Dragoons lets you drop another monster down. Important to note that this card does work well with Dragoons of Draconia, because if these two are your scales, the effects will work that he will add your card and then you will get the opportunity to summon that card. So sometimes that gets you just the one extra monster from your deck that you can then summon to push for game. So it usually works in best with regular Dragoons. Next up, we have our 3 copies of Sky Dragoons of Draconia. 2200 attack makes him also one of the bigger monsters in the deck, which is good for pushing damage. And then once per turn, when a normal monster you control inflicts battle damage to your opponent, you can target a card on the field and destroy it. That's definitely one of the better Pendulum effects. You'll find yourself happy to be able to destroy cards. Sometimes it's destroying a monster that clears away for an OTK. Sometimes it's destroying pesky back row or field spells or any of that. So definitely one of the better cards because any form of removal you can get is quite nice. So Sky Dragoons, high attack, good pendulum scale, one of the good pendulum effect, one of the better monsters. Next up in the monster lineup is our triple Master Pendulum, the Draco Slayer. He's a 4-star 1950 attack. It is important to have some of these 4 stars so that you can normal summon a monster if you don't have a scale ready to go, or if you want to not commit everything to a full board through, because after you pendulum summon, if something happens to your pendulum summon, you can be quite vulnerable. So definitely these 4 stars are useful. Scale 3, so one of the lower scales. Pendulum effect isn't too useful, but it does come in handy sometimes. Once while this card is in your pendulum zone, you can target a card in the pendulum zone and destroy it. So basically, it lets you, if you don't have a better low scale, you can use Master Pendulum as the low scale, and then when you get one, you can pop Master Pendulum and put your better low scale in there, and of course Master Pendulum will go to the extra deck to be fuel for a Pendulum summon. And of course the 1950 attack power, real good, lets you poke for damage. Um, Next we have Flash Knight, which is an 1800 attack warrior vanilla. No pendulum effect, but a scale 7. Definitely mostly in here for just the additional body. Use it as your pendulum scale if you don't have any better 7s. But otherwise, definitely just rely to summoning it. Good to have nonetheless, just so you have it when you need it. And then last for the monsters, I'm playing double Full Cult's Cannon. It is a pendulum scale 2, and during the end phase, if this card was activated this turn, I can target a face-up spell or trap card on the field and destroy it. Yep, not too much inherent spell and trap removal in this deck, so having Full Cult Cannon for the right situation is good to have. And that is it for the monsters. Moving on to our spells, I am playing triple Pot of Extravagance. Now, your extra deck has some things in it, but nothing that's overly too important. So, if you banish some copies, I'm running lots of 3-ofs too, so I'm very unlikely to banish everything I need. It's fine. Drawing cards can just be very important. This card makes your going first plays a bit better. Dig further in your deck for a better pendulum scale, one of your good searchers, or mainly the bigger thing, maybe dig for your blowout floodgate trap cards that you'll see in this deck. So Pot of Extravagance, card advantage seems to be good, so definitely enjoying that card in this deck. Next up, we're playing triple Painful Decision. This card, you send a normal monster of level 4 or lower from your deck to the graveyard, and then you add one of the same name to your hand. Usually the guy you want to get out with this is Dragoons of Draconia, but of course can be used to grab your Sea Dragoons, or if you have Dragoons, a Master Pendulum just for the attack power. But yeah, essentially filters one out of the deck and gets another one in your hand, so get you the piece you need for sure. Next up are 3 copies of Summoner's Art. This is a spell card that lets you add a level 5 or higher normal monster from your deck to your hand. So, you can use this to grab Lance if you need the big body, or, you can use this to grab Dragonhorn Hunter if you need the low pendulum scale. You can use it to grab Sky Dragoons if you want the removal effect. So, triple Summoner's Art to just search your monsters, get them where you need them. Next up, we are running 2 Heart of the Underdog. This is a spell card that says during your draw phase, if the card you draw is a normal monster, you can reveal it and draw another card. So we are playing over 20 normal monsters in this deck. So, this card, if it stays face up on your field, can draw you a bunch of normal monsters, usually giving you all the fuel you need for an OTK. Important to know for folks who aren't too familiar with this card. So if I reveal the normal monster and draw another normal monster, since it is still my draw phase, you can reveal that one and also draw. So essentially you keep drawing until you don't draw a normal monster, um, which can get you a lot of cards. Now if you have two Heart of the Underdog on the field, you can activate both of them at the same time, which will draw you 2 cards, but only the second card is the one that matters as far as if it's another normal monster, reveal it and then do it again. So if the second card you would draw when activating 2 is a normal monster, then you get to draw 2 again. So this card can draw out your whole deck, get you a lot of cards that you need for an OTK if your opponent doesn't have too much going on. Next up, we're playing 2 copies of the field spell Flawless Perfection of the Tenyi and 1 Terraforming to search them. Flawless Perfection of the Tenyi says that all non-effect monsters on the field are unaffected by monster effects. Your normal monsters are not effect monsters, of course, so that's that's pretty nice to be not affected by monster effects. Now your normal monsters that are pendulum cards though in the pendulum scale, now they're still affected because they're pendulum spell cards, but your ones that are monster, not affected. And then also once per turn when your opponent special summons an effect monster while you control a non-effect or face down monster, draw 2 cards. So get you 2 more cards during your opponent's turn, even works during your turn. So between not being affected by monster effects and drawing some cards, I found this card to be pretty good. Definitely a great card to have in non-effect monster decks overall. And that is it for our spells. And last up, we have some trap cards to go through. Mainly the trap cards here are floodgate trap cards to just blow out a game and win. Since you're playing normal monsters, we play 1 copy of Skill Drain. Certain matchups, Skill Drain just auto wins you the game. If your opponent's effect monsters can't use their effects while they're on the field, you don't have effect monsters, so you're not worried about that. So, Skill Drain, negate effects, win the game. Pretty good card. The other good card that I'm running mostly is the reason I'm for playing Extravagance is Tyrant Throws. Now what this card says is that you have to activate it by attributing 2 normal monsters except tokens, and then if you do that, neither player can normal summon or special summon effect monsters. So with Pendulum Summoning, it's easy to end your first turn with 2 or more monsters on the field. And if you have 2 or more monsters on the field, if you can get to this card on your turn 1 through Extravagance, or you just open with it and have it going, you can immediately activate it. And if they don't have spell and trap removal out, it'll oftentimes just win you the game. Because if they, they can't normal or special summon any effect monsters, a lot of people don't have too much they can do. So, yep, Tyrant Throws. If you turn off special summoning for a lot of decks, they really just can't do anything. So that is it for the trap cards. Next we are going into our extra deck. So to start, we are playing 3 copies of First of the Dragons. This is mostly in here because oftentimes in my side deck I'll be running a copy or 2 of Dragon's Mirror, and your monsters in the deck are all normal monsters, so you can go into First of the Dragons, which is unaffected by monster effects and can't be destroyed by battle with an effect monster. So this card can sometimes wall a matchup for a long time and be incredibly hard to deal with. Anyone who doesn't have spell or trap removal will find themselves in a rough spot dealing with this card, and that makes it pretty solid. So if you want to play Dragon's Mirror or side it like I often do, First of the Dragons is a big hit. Next, probably the main boss monster for this deck is triple Draco Masters of the Tenyi. So this card requires 2+ monsters, including a Link monster. He can't be destroyed by battle with effect monsters, and if he is the only effect monster on your side of the field, you can destroy effect monsters on your opponent's field up to the number of non-effect monsters in your graveyard and on the field. And you can have a lot of those. So you can end up like clearing a whole board, pushing for an OTK. He's got great link arrows, so if you have 3 monsters left over, make Draco Masters, then Pendulum in Pendulum summon, so you can get the 3 guys you just made him with right back. So Draco Masters of the Tenyi, Good boss monster for non-effect decks. Next, I am running Triple Defender of Labyrinth. This card requires 2 normal monsters, and his effect is that non-effect monsters you control gain 500 attack, and effect monsters your opponent controls lose 500 attack. Um, got good link arrows for beneficial pendulum summoning, and the 500 attack boost plus the minus 500 to your opponent's effect monsters can open up a lot of OTK potentials if you can go into this and then pendulum summon lots of, yeah, lets you can finish off games quite early. When this card's destroyed, you can special summon a non-effect monster from your graveyard. So if you sent one off of Painful Decision, or if one, you know, got sent there by missing the extra deck, you can summon it back. And of course, he's got 1400 attack on his own, so not too bad. Definitely the go-to link to for normal monsters. Next, I run 1 copy of Land Ferincus. Now, this is in here only because if I have Tyrant Throws on the field, I can't go into Defender because it's an effect monster. And this is a non-effect monster, so it's just an additional way to turn a couple resources into a extra 1200 attack. Not too important, which is why we played at 1, but good to have. Next, for all the level 4s that are in the deck, I am running some rank 4 XZs. Baguska, which is a skill drain on a body to stall and buy you some time, because when he's in defense, he negates effects, and your opponent's monsters are also thrust into defense so that they can't attack either, so that's pretty good. Tornado Dragon, you have spell or trap cards you want to deal with. Tornado Dragon. Detaches a material, pops 1, either player's turn. The quick effect part is nice. And Castel to shuffle any annoying card that is on the field back into the deck. And last, we have 2 big fusion monsters, a Master of Oz and a Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon is, of course, just strictly better because it has 300 more tech, but I have Master of Oz in here because it's cool and has style. But oftentimes I'm also side decking the Fist of the Unrivaled Tenyi, which is a solemn just for controlling a non-effect monster. And but it has the bonus effect that if it's destroyed by your opponent's card effect, you can summon any non-effect monster from your extra deck. So you can force out one of these big bodies and will push for a lot of damage on a future turn. So that is it for the extra deck. I hope you enjoyed this deck profile. I'll have VODs of dueling it with it up on YouTube and on Twitch. So definitely check that out if you want to see more. Thanks everyone for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Later!